Hello, good afternoon. Welcome everyone back to the 99x webinar series. Today, we'll be having the first episode of the 99x webinar series for the year of 2024. So today's our topic will be executing functions with large language models. And today's webinar will be conducted by me, uh, Dharana Rodrigo, a trainee software engineer at 99x, and my colleague Srilal Sachintana. So I'd like to invite Srilal to start the webinar. Srilal, over to you.
Hi everyone, good evening. So today we will be talking about how we can actually utilize large language models to do actual work. So since these models can only output text and they can actually do nothing apart from outputting text. So how we can use this large language models to our advantage. So, since these things have very high logical thinking capabilities, how we can use this. So the way how we can use this is using OpenAI function calling. So, but we call this OpenAI functions, but this capability was first introduced by Langchain. After that, about a few months after, OpenAI actually adopted this functionality, and now they are shipping it with their own APIs. So let's talk about how we can actually utilize this to our advantage. First, in this session, we will be looking at OpenAI's function calling APIs and then LangChain. And after that, Dharana will be talking about the drawbacks and the limitations of this technology. So let's get right into this. So as I mentioned before, these LLMs can actually only output text. So they can't do anything else. They only output text. So how we can utilize this? We can actually give this LLM some specific instructions to get a specific output format. For this functions calling, we can actually give them instructions to output specific format. Then we can use our output parsers like if conditions and some logic to check that output and run something from that. So that is the basis of function calling. And since this is a very technical session, we'll be mostly looking at code, and I will be explaining you how to write very efficient and good functions. So first, not all OpenAI functions are supported. OpenAI for models are supported by this ability. So as of now, the most recent models, GPT 3.5 Turbo 0125 and the GPT-4 Turbo Preview is supported. And apart from these, I will explain later that some other non-OpenAI models are also supported. So let's take a look at how we can create an OpenAI function. So first, we need to import a few things from the OpenAI library. This is Python. So I'm actually using some Python type checking because that's why there are so many imports. So otherwise, if you're not using any Python type checkings, you only need to import this part, OpenAI, and this import JSON. This everything else it's just a type checking. So if you are writing actual code with Python, it's better you use type checking because it's let you write very errorless code. So you know something is wrong before you are going to press that compile button or run button. So first you need to import the OpenAI, and you have to set the client as the OpenAI API key. So you can get OpenAI API key trial from OpenAI for 3 months, but they give you $5. You can use that for 3 months, and then we can define a function. So this is the function we're actually going to use. So for this session, we have a dummy function. This one, get current weather. So it only takes a single input, the location. So location of the city we are going to search for, the weather. Okay. So, and we are just returning some dummy code, the dummy result. but you can implement anything in this function. So this is just an example. So you can write 1,000 or any amount of functions, and you can this is how you can define your. So next we can actually define the function, so the OpenAI can understand this. In here, in this part, I'll get back to the message part later. So in here, you can define the chat completion tool parameter. So that is how we are going to introduce this function into the model. So we can define the type as function and the name. So for the name, it should be in all simple without in spaces. So it's a rule enforced by OpenAI. And for the description, this is the most important thing. You have to write a very clear description about the function. So uh, since these models are logical and they can understand the human language to a very good level, you need to give the function description as a very clear description. Otherwise, function won't know what to do with this and might get wrong idea about this. So it should be clear and shorter. And then in the parameters section, you can actually set the input parameters for the function. So in here, we define the input parameters as a parameter properties as a location, and we have set the data type as string. And in here also, you need to set the parameter description. So this is how they can the model can identify what this parameter actually do. So it's a the the more clear the function description, the more good result you can get from the function and the OpenAI. And here in the chat part in the top, so this is where the user's message is going to get inserted. So if you are using this in application, you can set your question to here. So you can, let's say it's a web application, you can pass the user's query parameter to here, the content section as a string. So, and if you look at here, there's a parameter set as role. So I have set it to user, but there are more available like system and assistant. So for this, you have to set it to user. But if you need to give any more specific examples, like a system prompt or something, you can actually add more messages before this one and set the role to system. So the system message carries more weight. So the model more likely to follow that. And then we can go into the execution part. So in here, there's a few things I want you to know. So we have set the model to this. So you can run this without actually defining a model, but it's better you define an exact model because between the versions of the model, like there's one before this one called 0613. So that one has a different tone to it than this one. So the 613 model, same version, same 3.5 version, but different variation. So that one had a bit of a issue with not following system prompts and outputting additional characters other than the specific format we have given. So that is why you need to set a specific model in here. So it's better if you set this model. So far we have identified that this 0125 is the best model for function calling. And you don't need to actually go into GPT-4. 3.5 is more than enough. And then you can set the messages to here and tools. And for this tool choice, we have set to auto. Reason is since we are using only one tool, you can set it to auto. But if you have multiple functions like 10 or more, you can set a specific function name and it will pick only that. It's a specific use case. You might need that. So in the handling output, this is one point that why using type checking is important. So in here we get after we execute this, we get something like this. So the actual response is not in the response object, it's inside the choices first message. So if you don't set this as this data type, you can't actually get this easily because the ID won't know what to do with this object. So now you can get the message and the output of the tool. So apart from the message output, the OpenAI function will also supply few new things. So in the response message section, there will be a new section called tool calls. So this won't be available if you don't supply this tool section to the model. So this will only be here if you actually set the tool section to something with the tools. So if you get this variable and check if it's null or not, if it's not null, the model has called a function. So you can get the called function's name and the argument. So the model will present the selected function and its arguments in these variables. So this is the arguments will be presented as a JSON, but will be encoded as a JSON string. So you need to uh, convert it to a JSON, so you can easily use the JSON loads function. So after that, you can check what the actual function name and check if it's function name you have, and you can execute the function and get the output. So here's the output, output of the function. So from now, you can use this information to either you can just show this to the user, or you can send this back to the model and get a more constructed response. So for example, if you continue to send this back to the model, let's say you call the function and you send this back to the model, so model will probably send you back some nice answer like, hi, the Colombo's temperature is now 25, like that. So you can you can get creative with this. So you can create multiple functions for various purposes, and then use that feedback back into the model and get some constructed outputs. So another thing that you can chain this function. So one function can call the others and can go like a chain. So that you can actually construct a very complex application. So this is the basis for the OpenAI's part of function calling. So let's next move on to the Langchain's one. So Langchain function calling is a bit different than OpenAI because it was the one that got first introduced even before OpenAI. So they introduced this as agents, and there was even few months before OpenAI actually introduced the OpenAI function calling. They had this thing called agents, and with these agents, they had tools. So this is the basis for functions. So in Langchain, the function calling is what we actually call the Langchain tools. So these tools work with Langchain agents. So let's have a look at how this Langchain agent flow works. So basically, each agent is consists of three things: the LLM, the underlying large language model, and the prompt, and then the tools. So these tools are the place where we keep the functions, and the prompt is how we are going to instruct the model to how to use these tools to get an answer for the user's query. And we can it will output a result. So this is the basis for the Langchain agent flow. So let's look at the code. So this is going to be a bit different from the OpenAI one. So first, just like before, I'm going to import all the type checking parts and all the library definitions here. So in here, you can see I have imported all these things, Langchain prompts, Langchain models, and everything. And one note, you will be you need to use at least Langchain 0.16 or greater, because this function, the Langchain OpenAI function, which was from a few months ago, it was a core part of the Langchain, but now it has moved into different package. So you need to import that separately, and some of these functions I'm talking about will not be available in the previous version. So you need to get the most recent part. So Just like the previous examples, the start of this is a bit similar. So you import these things and you can initialize a client. You can set the API key, and but the difference is you can actually set some other options here other than the in OpenAI we set at the last, but in here we can set it actually in the beginning. So one more thing, temperature. It's a bit of a try and catch thing because there is no exact value you can use for the function calling. We typically recommend you use something below 0.5 and something bit above 1.0.1. So reason is if you set it too low, it will get more like a machine, and if you set it to more than 0.5, it's going to wander off and output some nonsense. So for function calling, 0.3 or 0.2 is the best. So let's get to the next slide. And here we'll use the same function. So you can use any function and any type of outputs for this. And here there's a few differences. So first, we need to, before we define our tool, uh, uh, we need to create an input class. So this is how the model and Langchain know what will be the inputs for this. So this is, you can define this somewhere else and import it here. So this base model part is actually from this one. So here in the Langchain's Pydantic versions, there's a base model and the field part. So you can import that and then you can use it here. So what this does is it's explained to the Langchain and the model that this is the standard format for the function, and then we can use this to create our tool. So then we can construct our weather tool. So here we have defined this one. In this weather tool, we set the function as our default function, the stump function, and we can set it a name. So the same rule applies to here, simple letters and short name. And then we can set the description here. So unlike the previous OpenAI version, this is bit clear. So you can set the tools inputs here, the location, string, and field descriptions here. So it's a bit clear than the OpenAI's one. So since this is a bit mature than it, and then the arg schema. So the arg schema, which means argument schema. So that means what are the inputs and parameters should be going into the function, and we set it to the our class, the weather input class. So now the Langchain will uh, pass this as a function and construct a JSON so that it can give into the model, and then we can set this to a list of tools. So since this is list, you can actually have more than one tool. So maybe 10, 12, or any amount of the tools. And then in here, we can set the agent prompt. So this will act as a system prompt. So unlike OpenAI's version, Langchain agents actually require a system prompt. So otherwise, these agents are empty. They don't know what to do. All they get is a list of tools and description and a question. So they wouldn't know what to do. So you need to provide a actual system prompt. So this is a very basic one. It says you are a virtual agent. This is the user with their query. So it doesn't mention any specific rules or anything. But if it's a very complex application, you can set a complex system prompt. So you can even define some rules in there. And then there's this Langchain's prompt constructor. So in here, we can create a template. So this is a Langchain prompt template. So in here, we have defined three messages. So first the system message, which is the agent prompt template, and then the human message. And you can see this curly braces. So later this will be formatted into the user's query. So this is a template. So Langchain will handle that for us. So whatever the query you are passing into this, it will automatically get added to the here. So instead of the input. And in bottom, there's something called message placeholder. And a variable name we have picked as agent scratchpad. So this means since these are agents, unlike the OpenAI ones, this will call the model multiple times, unlike the OpenAI one. So the this scratchpad means if it need to think. So this agent will trick the model into thinking. So if something goes wrong, it can actually call the functions back, can read the prompt back, and delete some messages if it doesn't need. So this part will act as actual scratchpad. So it can keep some variables, some memories. If it needs some messages or anything, it can keep in the scratchpad. So that is the purpose of this one. And then we can create the actual OpenAI functions agent. So this is a specific one provided by Langchain. We can input the OpenAI chat model, the client we have created, and the tool set, and then the prompt. So it will create an agent. So this hasn't executed yet. So this is the basis for our Langchain agents. So we can execute this by using an agent executor. This we have imported this one before, and we can use the agent executor to execute the function. So in the we can define the agent executor as we can set the agent and again tools, and we have set something called verbose to true, which means it will output the intermediate steps before actually outputting the final answer. So since this is the agent, it will think if it need to think, it will think multiple times. So think means it will send multiple requests to the OpenAI, whatever LLM it's using, and try to debate everything itself and get to the answer. So that's how pretty much all the Langchain agents work. So then to actually execute this, we can run the invoke method. So in the invoke method, you can see that there's a JSON dictionary, and we have set the input to what's the weather like in Colombo. So it recognizes that this is the input, and if you remember the previous slide, it will fill this question into the template and create a full prompt that will be sent to the LLM. So in here, I have set the history to empty. So if you need to create a chat history, you can actually use this. And that's actually something Langchain has provided. And also, and then we have executed this, we get something like this. So this is actually the output from the console, not the actual output. So in here, you can see that entering a new length executor chain. So and then when the agent actually thinks it needs to execute a function, you can get the output here. So it's in here, it's executing the get current weather function with this input. Then this is actual answer returned from the function. And now this is the model's output. And after the finishing the chain, you get this. This is the final answer. So if you see, this is actually a reconstructed message using this data. The model provides a very human-like answer. So this is how the Langchain's function calling actually works. So if you need to create something complex, you can like send this back to the model, or you can create multiple functions that call each other and maybe call some other APIs or other Langchain agents and create a larger network of agents and tool sets. So that is how this thing works. And for the other LLMs, like so far we have talked about how we can use the OpenAI models to use a function call. So there are other LLMs that support this, mostly the Google Gemini Pro, which is a bit different syntax, but basically the same idea. But for Google Gemini Pro to work, you need to use a different type of agent in Langchain. So if you install Langchain and check the documentation, there will be a section about Google Gemini Pro, but I have checked this about a day or two ago. It's not very complete documentation, but now you get the idea. And also, there are some Llama 2 derivatives from Facebook. So these derivatives are not built by the Facebook or trained by them. These are community trained models. So there will be some issues. And for the Google Gemini Pro one, this Gemini Pro model is a bit sentimental. So it's has a bit of a emotional side than the OpenAI's model. So the function calling is not very I wouldn't say it's not successful, but it's not very successful like the OpenAI one. So it's better if you're using or if you're building an application that's going to use function calling. It's better if you can use OpenAI rather than Google Gemini Pro. So, but you can use the Gemini Pro for some few function callings, but it's going to be a bit of a problem with the model's emotion level. So that's now I will hand over to Dharana to talk about the drawbacks and the limitations of the model. Okay. Dharana, over to you.
Yeah. Uh, Let me share my screen. Okay. So thank you, Shrila. So I'll be mostly talking about the limitations and drawbacks which you will face when you are practically trying to use these function calling methods and Langchain agents, as Shrila explained. So first of all, I must say that most of these mistakes that we have identified are the ones that we have practically faced while working and while researching on those technologies, because those most of these technologies are very recent, then and they have come out within past couple of months. So there are we can't find most of the, like, there are no very precise or very correct documentation about these technologies. So most of these tips and like the points and practices I'm going to share today are ones that we have experienced. So I'd like to invite all of you also to share your experience and any points you have regarding those in the live chat. And also, if you have any questions, please post them in the live chat, and we will be answering to those questions at the end of the session. So first of all, I'll tell you some of the mistakes that are very common mistakes that you should avoid if you're using OpenAI function calling and Langchain function calling agents. So one thing that most of the people used to do is like not providing clear and conscious system prompts. So when it comes to the system prompt, that as Srilal mentioned, those are OpenAI models. Not depending on whatever the model you use, it could be a 3.5 GPT 3.5 model or a GPT-4 model, but most of these LLMs like pretend to like act on their own instructions and their own thinking if we don't provide a proper, clear, conscious system prompt. So but if you tend to give a system prompt with proper instructions and clear instructions, clear set of instructions, there's a high chance that you can get a very accurate and effective answer. So when it comes to the system prompts, I'll give you a small example. So in this example, imagine you are making a small chatbot, and so in the chatbot, if you give a input like in the first like the first part, write something beautiful. This allows the model to act more on its own thinking. So this could lead the model to hallucinate things and give an output which is not very accurate to our expectation. So instead of that, if you could give it a proper instruction like compose a haiku about cherry blossom, so which is more concise and clear. So if you don't know what a haiku is, it's a type of poems which has like 17 syllables and 3 lines. So that means this is an exact template and exact type of information you are expecting from the model to be executed. So if you give a proper instructions like this when it comes to function calling, so most probably in the function calling you expect it to generate a schema or an API call or something like that. So if you could be specific about the parameters and the function, like the functionalities and the logics you want the model to generate, so the answer will be more precise, and you will be able to execute it without any moderating. And so also when it comes to the other point I'm going to talk about is sorry, can we go back to the yeah, so not using multi-shot turns. So when it comes to API calls, like you must have uh, noticed that there's a method called single shot learning and multi-shot learning. So when you are making system prompts, so if you use single shot learning, like if you give an example, if you give an answer or a question with a single attribute, there's a high chance that it wouldn't make a proper answer out of it. Other than that, without doing that, if you can provide a multi-shot question, like a step-by-step question guideline with when where the model can understand the steps it should execute in the system prompt, that would be more that the model would pretend to give a better answer. And another mistake that Sridhar also mentioned about this earlier in his slide about the temperature. So I'll first of all I'll explain what this temperature is if you are not aware about that. So if you have worked with OpenAI models before in the API level, you must have noticed that there's a parameter called temperature when you make an API call with the OpenAI models. So this temperature is a number between 0 and 1, where you can define how much creative the model should be. So if you set the number somewhere between like 0 0.1, 0 0.3, some the answers that model give tends to be more machinery, like a more robotic, and the creativeness would be very less. But if you give a number like 0.7, 0.9, the model tends to be very creative, and sometimes it could be too much, where the model could hallucinate things, and like it could come to a point that where the model might lie. So therefore, but when it comes to function calling, it's better if you use a low temperature, as Shriyal mentioned, like something between. In our experience, the best option is something between 0.2 to 0.3, because if we go back to something like 0.1, it's going to be more machinery, and sometimes it might miss some parts where we want the model to think. So what we would like to suggest when it comes to this point is like something like 0.3. Uh, then I will also share some tips and best practices where you can make the like you can use when it comes to OpenAI function calling. So first one is format your function calls properly. As Srilal also mentioned earlier, when it comes to the part where you give your function with along with the parameters, when you're using more parameters and JSON examples, you can make the output better. So also uh, you always should, when you come to third party APIs and libraries, you must when you're implementing this in the execution level or in a production application, you might have to use APIs. So when it comes to that, always make sure you use secure and reliable APIs, because these agents most of the times these agents and application doesn't work independently. We have to implement them within a production environment we currently have, and it might expose our code base uh, in a certain level. So therefore, make sure you use all your APIs are reliably secure. And uh, and when it comes to the answer, always sure you thoroughly review the generated API calls, because uh, as all of us know, we can't rely on the answers given by the model 100%. Even though most of the answers could be very correct and very accurate, make sure you test the answers really well, and make sure you go through the API calls which is generated by the OpenAI models before you execute them into a production server. And always make sure when the system is in production to monitor and analyze the system behavior throughout the time. So yeah, these are some of the points that I would like to share today with all of you guys to make the OpenAI function calling a better and accurate process. So, as I mentioned previously, these are some points that we have practically faced and we have experienced while researching about the OpenAI function calling and agents in our research team at 99x. So, if you guys also have experienced such things and if you guys have any tips to share, please feel free to share them in the live stream chat. So, we will be sharing them with everyone. So next, we will be moving to the Q&A session. So let's see whether we have any questions, Srila. Yeah, uh, we have one question. Can the function be changed by changing agent prompt?
I'm not actually clear about the question. What do you mean about the behavior of the function, or like which function to be called? If it's about the behavior of the function, so the function is it's not affected by the model. So it's entirely the code you write. So any function you can write within the given context will be executed without any interference from the model. And only thing that the model can interface the inputs and the decision to which function to be executed. So in the agent prompt, you can't actually change the behavior of the function because it's just a logic. So, but you can give some specific instructions in the agent prompt about how to select the functions. For example, if you have like 10 functions and so let's say it's about some application about sales and sales, or maybe sales and uh, some receipts or something. So yeah, okay, so if you can set the in the agent prompt, you can explain this. So the model knows it's working with some uh, receipts or any sales order functions. So that way the model has a better understanding of which functions to call, but you can't actually change the behavior of the function because it's simply a call. So I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be the answer for that question.
Are there
Uh,
any more questions?
Okay. So the question is, these are out of the context question. So what is the roadmap to become machine learning engineer? An interesting question.
Okay, it's an interesting one. Even though it's not actually related to the session, but for machine learning, uh, you need to have a good foundation in mathematics, and it's better if you have some understanding about statistics, because all these things, all these models are doing is dealing with probabilities. So it's better if you have, it's not a must, but it's better if you have a good understanding about mathematics and especially statistics. And that's would be the basis for a machine learning engineer. And it's going to be really helpful if you're going to going in far with the machine learning, and mathematics will come up at some point, so you can do some simple works without it, but it's going to be required later. So it's better if you have mathematics and statistics foundation. And you can then follow some. There are various paths you can take in even in the machine learning. In recently there are many new fields within the machine learning, and you can follow what you want and what's best for you. So, for example, there's a new field ML DevOps and ML Ops. So it's about DevOps and machine learning. So deploy machine learning models and pretty pipelines, data pipelines. So that's a bit different side of machine learning. And more recently, there's the recent one, the LLMs, and with these new AI models, there are new jobs and various fields. So it's better if you can start with mathematics and statistics. That's the best way.
We have another question. So it's from Dinuk, and it's about actual 99x. So I have a passion to join 99x. Are there any tips? So, uh,
I
should
think
I reply to that?
Dharana can answer that better than me.
Okay. So, yeah, of course, if you have a passion to join 99x, is the best way is to, as the most basic is you have to first apply. So, uh, so you can do that from the website, the official website. There's a separate section for called careers, and throughout that, you can submit your CV and apply. And also stay tuned with the social medias, I think, and I think there will be posted if there's any vacancies or urgent hirings. And when it comes to like the technology wise, always stay updated with the latest technologies, like not just AI and machine learning, but other than that, most of the technological frameworks that works in the enterprise level. So stay tuned with that, and keep your coding knowledge updated, and always keep your LinkedIn profile and your GitHub updated, so that the recruiters can see what you're up to and what's your actual level of coding and your experience. So yeah, I think those are the tips that for anyone who would like to join 99x. uh, yeah. Okay, I think that's it for the questions for the session. So I think we can wind up the session for today. So feel free to share any feedbacks if you have regarding the sessions, or questions if you have, so that we will try to reach you and answer that later. And also stay tuned with the social media channels and the pages for more sessions like this. So yeah, I think we can wind up the session. And thank you so much, Srilal, for joining us with the session and sharing your experience and knowledge. And hope to see you all in another session. Thank you.